Hello, Kristen.
Hi, Greg.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. You're in
Nice.
a different location.
I'm in a different location because I am trying to keep it fresh.
Nice.
That's not true. I am escaping some of the Palm Springs, which is where I live, heat. And I'm in Seattle. So I am in an
Nice.
Airbnb in Seattle for the next 2 months.
Okay.
This morning it was a delightful 56 degrees when I woke up. So
Oh,
I know, right?
nice. Yeah, I know. I'm in the Bay Area at the moment, and
Yeah.
there's our normal summer fog coming up over the mountain
Yep.
next to our house. So, yeah, we're in our probably similar temperature.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this morning you'll remember this. I headed out to join a friend for coffee and over in West Seattle. And so when I got up,
Yeah.
it was sunny and in the mid 50s. And I thought, I don't know that I even need a hoodie in this.
Uh-huh.
But by the time I got to West Seattle, I was underneath the marine layer
Hmm.
and I was really glad for the hoodie at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know.
what are we talking about today, Kristen?
Today, we're going to talk about leadership and work-life balance.
Love it. Love
And
it.
I would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah. I think, well, I want to start talking about work-life balance first, maybe because
Okay.
okay, yeah. So work-life balance is difficult. Full stop
For everybody,
for everybody. Yeah,
whether you're a leader or not.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that it becomes especially difficult if you're a people leader.
Hmm.
And I think that it's been tried to be defined in any number of ways about like always you go home at 5 o'clock. Like whatever you have a reliable schedule, whatever it is. I've never had a job where that was reliably possible, right? There were some times when I was working on a Saturday and sometimes when I could take time off. I think that for me, the first thing I'll say is the point of balance is that I have to equally prioritize personal things sometimes as I do work things. If
Hmm.
work always wins, then I'm not in balance. And so, there are times when I in my career have said to friends, like, I can't meet for dinner this night. I have to work late, right? So that is a point where work wins and personal life loses. But there
Yeah.
has to be also times where I say, look, I can't do like that thing is not going to happen today because I have a personal thing to attend to. So that's the first thing I'll say is for me,
Mhm.
it finding that balance was just about holding equal priority. And then the other piece is the most important piece for me as a people leader was how do I model that then in a way that um, is genuine and allows the work to get done and the time frame it needs to get done and also respects the team that I have. And I have a couple of examples of that. But I think the most important thing was modeling it for my team, modeling it as an individual, as a person, so that they could find their own balance in that.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
think
think?
that's, you know, I get asked this question a lot,
Hmm.
mostly because I'm a mom. And
Oh, interesting.
people
Yeah.
love to ask you this question in interviews if you're a mom,
Really?
because they're like, could you possibly do it all? And it's like, well, I don't. And yeah.
This possibly patronize you in a way that would seem like I wasn't patronizing you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So so you get asked this question a lot, and I think
Yeah.
my answer has evolved over time a lot.
Interesting.
I did not have very good work-life balance,
Yeah.
but I actually really kind of prided myself on not having great
Yes.
work-life balance early in my career
Sure.
because I wanted to be like the worker, the successful career woman, and that was really
Mhm.
important to me. And that did shift a bit as I, got older and had a kid and then had a house and had other priorities in my life and
Yeah.
and then in starting a business, like it had to shift gears really hard back to like very heavy work. And I
Yep.
think what I've come to feel like over the years is that like it gets presented like if you're presenting like weights or a seesaw or whatever, work-life balance gets presented like everything's like this all the time. And that's what you're shooting for. And what
Right.
that's not what you're shooting for. What you're
True.
shooting for is that you're handling the important things
Better
all
said.
the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and that will look like it going like this, and that
Yeah.
on average, it
Yeah.
equals out to that, but it's not just, like, sitting here like you're a perfect
Yeah.
yogi sitting in the middle of a scale. Like, it's never gonna look like that. So if that's what you're shooting for and that's what you have in your head when you're thinking about work-life balance, you're gonna be really disappointed that life just
Yes.
does not go like that.
No, it doesn't.
And so,
I
yeah.
so you said really clearly, and you said better what I was thinking, which is this I think the seesaw is a great example of it, right? Which is that there's not a point of balance that you maintain. There's a good gosh.
I
I
would
can I did it. I have balance. I can die
yeah,
now.
yeah,
But instead it's that, right? So when you have the the like if you have a thing with a kid, right? So you got a like parent day and the launch of a really important project, right? That's not going to be an easy choice.
yeah,
And I think the point about balance is this is the point I was trying to make is you are sometimes going to make a choice where the people in your life, the humans that you share your life with, are going to be disappointed that you chose work over them. And there's
yep,
going to be times in your life where your work is going to be disappointed or suffer because you chose your personal life over them, right? So that's
yeah,
going to happen if it hasn't happened already. The point
yeah.
is to balance those times. You want everyone equally disappointed in you.
Yes,
Because
right.
that's how you know you're winning.
Well well, and then you can be super disappointed in yourself, or you can
Yes.
choose not to be too, and that's the big
Yeah.
piece of it is I think a lot of times we put a
Yes.
lot of pressure on ourselves. I can only speak for myself, but I know this comes up a lot for women. It's that you there's a lot of pressure from a
Yeah.
lot of different directions that
Oh
comes
gosh.
at
Yeah.
women, especially moms, and you have to decide, are you gonna try to live up to all of that? Or are you
Right.
going to live up to the parts that you care about? And
Yeah.
and so that took a little time and working through for me, and
Yeah.
I think it does for a lot of people. And I think, I watched my husband go through that a little bit too, right? Because he's
Mhm.
also a parent
Mhm.
and he also works. And he's also had to work through like, if I be the person who takes the kid to school in the city every day, does that mean that I'm not being as good of a provider, or
Right.
whatever because I'm not at work 8 full hours of the day, because I
Yeah.
can't because I need to take my kid to school and my wife's got other stuff going on, like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's also, like, as you go through different phases of life and you have different people in your life, that kind of gets all into the mix and it makes a lot of complexity.
It does, and I think that even as you describe it, there's perceived well, not perceived in a bad way. There are male and female roles around that sort of work-life balance that we end up being stuck with. My book club just finished a book that, I'm sure you've read called The Poisonwood Bible.
Oh, I love that book.
It's amazing, and
Yeah.
among the things we were talking about were the sort of the roles of men and women in the late 1950s and early
Mhm.
1960s, where most of the book takes place. And you and I don't live in that time, but we still we have the echoes of those expectations, right? So women
Mhm.
are expected to be the stay at home, take care of the kids primary, do the laundry, do all that, and men are the go off to work, Don Draper, Mad Men, wearing a
Yeah.
tie, right? So those images persist, and it means that you, Kristen, and your husband and I, based on the role that we're in a moment,
Mhm.
are not just reacting to our immediate scenario, but whatever those sort of legacy expectations are
Mhm.
that are placed on us. And I can imagine that your husband has exactly that, which is, if I'm taking the kid to school in the city, what am I not getting done? And if you are, you know, developing a business that
Mhm.
you expect to grow and scale, what are the limitate or the what's coming at you sort of socially and um legacy wise from that as well. And the one I
Yeah.
get, it is an interesting trigger that I didn't notice I had until I did, until somebody actually said to me, I think I was going somewhere. I was opting to prioritize my personal life over whatever work project I was being asked to work on. And leader who was not my boss, but another leader in the organization said, "You don't have a spouse or kids. Why Why do you need time away?" And I it just
Expectations are not just for parents, they're for
no,
everybody.
there are,
Yeah.
yes. And so my response to that was disproportionate in my own opinion, and it gave me a chance to kind of pull the threads apart and figure out what that meant. But yeah, as any of us make those choices on finding the balance, it's not just the family obligation or the work obligation, it's whatever additional societal expectations we've
Yeah.
internalized that we have to manage as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. It sounded like you had a couple of examples of ways to kind of demonstrate a
Yeah.
good work-life balance for your team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, a couple of examples of it
Okay.
being done badly. So I had to
Oh,
let's yeah, because those are important too.
that
And
works.
I think the first one I think is an important one. What's interesting about this one is it's probably 20 years old.
Okay.
Or, so which and it's a technology one. It's a way that this still happens, right? So
Mhm,
at the time there was somebody who was reporting to me, and we lived on the West Coast. We both did, but she worked East Coast hours in order to be home for her kids. But
mhm.
she would leave her laptop on throughout the evening, and if it dinged as an email came in, she would literally get up from the dining room table from dinner and check her email because she heard the ding. And if it was from me, from her manager, then
Woo.
she felt really compelled. And so to answer it, so we had a number of conversations about that. I was like, I don't want you, don't do that. Shut your computer off. She's like, I can't
Yeah.
shut it off. But there's this thing about how we let technology intrude.
Mhm.
And then the frustration comes either for the person who sent the email or the text or the whatever,
Yeah.
rather than finding a way to be okay with turning the technology off. And
Yeah.
the reason I think that one is interesting to me and why I still think of it is it was a long time ago. Technology has only gotten more invasive. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing is that, there's great research on that multitasking isn't a thing. So if you're a parent at your kid's baseball game, but you're stuck to your phone, you're not at your kid's baseball game,
Yeah.
right? If you're having dinner with friends, you know, you're not and you're looking at your phone, you're not dinner with friends. So that's the first thing I would say is that what I've experienced definitely is the ways in which technology makes it even harder because
Yeah.
because it can seem like we're present all the time. Um, The other one was an interesting one. I had a guy on my team, um, just maybe 10 years ago, who, had a wife and kids, um, and he easily worked 14 hours a day, every day,
Mhm,
and I had a lot of conversations with him about burnout and what that meant, and he worked in a culture where that was very common for men to work
mhm.
those kinda hours, and I was just like, "Look, you're like, you're sh" the where I finally got his attention was saying, the example you're setting for your team is doing damage, right?
Mm,
So your team that does not have the arrangement you have with your wife to sort of, um, have this seemingly imbalance. You just have a bunch of members of your team that are trying to work 14 hours a day because they think it's expected. So
mhm.
that was a really important conversation for he and I was to say not just him putting the hours in and the time in, but people are watching you.
Yeah.
And as they watch you, they're believing that what you're doing is the right way to do it, and it's not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
those are the ones that come to mind. The other one I will say, and this is a thing that worked really well for me. I was at a this is also maybe 15 years ago. I lose track of years. Um, I lived in Seattle, and I was working in Redmond, Washington, which is
Mhm.
across Lake Washington, which is a notoriously horrible commute for anybody
It
who
is a
lives there.
bad commute.
Yeah. I used to say, like, whenever I crossed the 520 bridge across the lake, like, a little tiny piece of my soul would get left in the water of the lake. It was just like it was
You
eating
don't
away
ha
at me.
so you don't have a soul now.
I don't have a jacket, yes. I've been without a soul for
He was
years
given to
now.
the
Yes,
bridge.
exactly. But I got on the van pool. I joined a van pool.
Yeah.
So I had to leave every day at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
And the van pool itself, the fact that I had to leave, became the mechanism for how I got work-life balance. Because I would
Mm,
get home at 5:40 in the afternoon or rather, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, and I'd have an entire weird evening with nothing to do because I wasn't used to being home. So
Yeah.
the thing I would say about that is like find the mechanism, find the thing you can the structure you can put in place that almost forces some balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's actually talk about tips and tricks for the last little bit
Yes.
here, because
Yes.
I'll give a couple of mine. So
Please, yeah.
when I started this business, when you have a business and you're running it from your house where you live all the time, especially at first when I did not have this cute separate little office that I'm in
Yes.
at the moment, I had the basement where I had a desk, and also that was where we watched TV, and also that was where the kid lived, and also I mean, it was just a lot of stuff
Mm.
going on down there. Um, it was hard for me to sort of find the line between Kristen at work and Kristen not at work.
Mhm.
And so one thing I did was I like made sure I got up in the morning at a normal working hour,
Nice.
regardless of whether or not I had meetings, and put on business clothes
Mm.
and went commuted to the basement. And then at the end of the day, wrapped it all up, closed my computer, put everything away, went upstairs, changed, and then was at
Oh,
home.
nice. Yeah.
So, like, I found that, like, changing clothes sort of changed my expectation of what I was doing.
Mhm.
And so, like, I would have workout clothes on or lounge
Yeah.
around the house clothes on instead of
Yeah.
my work clothes, which seems like overkill for when you're doing Zoom like we're doing right
Yeah.
now. But,
Right.
like it actually mentally worked really well for me.
Yep.
And the other thing is now, like, this door is like my secret. Like,
Yeah.
this is where all the work happens.
Yeah.
The work doesn't happen elsewhere in the house,
Right.
so when I am done, the door gets shut and it's shut.
Yep.
The door is shut.
Yeah.
So, like, that
Oh, I like
created
that.
that, like, differentiation that I really needed
Yeah.
to create that balance. What are some of your other tips?
I like both of those, and I've used the door shut one myself, in
Yeah.
my, the house I had in Seattle, just a
Mhm,
few years ago, I had an office door that shut, and it was a great way to be able to focus. So,
mhm,
I think what you're describing, like location, like where I'm
mhm,
sitting when I work becomes an important part of
mhm,
it. Um, the the other is what I found, especially as I was building my career,
mhm,
and trying to get the next job and all of that, is
mhm,
that I put way more intention into work than I did into my personal life. So I'm a single man, single human. I don't have children or a spouse.
mhm,
I've been partnered in my life. I'm sure I will be again, but I'm single a lot too. And so there's no built-in structure for personal time. So so one of the things I found I had to do is I had to actually make plans, and so long before the pandemic, I worked from home for 4 or 5 years in a row, and so I would actively, get with friends on the phone and be like, "All right,
mhm,
today is Tuesday, what do you think about dinner, like, next Thursday?" Right? And at
mhm,
first, friends are like, "Are we really planning dinner 10 days in advance?" Yes, we actually are. And so I got to the point where every evening, if I didn't have plans with friends, I had plans to sit in a coffee shop and do some writing,
mhm,
or I like, whatever my other plan was, so that I created this function of a personal life where as a single person, there really wasn't anything else, but it meant that I had to shut my computer off because, like, I
yeah,
gotta get to a movie, I gotta get to dinner, I gotta get to the gym to work out because that's what I put on my calendar, but my evening calendar became as busy as my workday calendar because that was when I got to get out of the house and have contact with
mhm.
people that I cared about. So, but if I left it to, like, this is my personal time, and so, like, I can do whatever I want, well, I didn't do anything. I
Yeah.
would drift back to the computer and be like, "Well, maybe I'll just check email and see what's happening in the world."
I mean, this is just a good time management tip, I think, in general,
Yes.
even in, like, your
Yes.
work day, like, time blocking is very effective, but only
Oh,
if you have a plan for the block of time.
yeah.
Like, if
Yes.
you're just like, "This is my time block,"
Personal time, yeah.
we teach this to customer success managers,
I
like,
love it.
you should block some time to be proactive with your customers, but you also should have a plan for exactly what you're gonna do during that time, like,
Fantastic.
go get, 3 business reviews lined up.
Yeah.
Go,
Right on.
research for your
Yeah.
customers, like, get very specific about your goals during that
Yeah.
time. So I
I do
think
that with
that's
my
really
career
good.
coaching clients as well, and
Yeah.
interestingly, when I'm talking to somebody who's in a career, is seeking a career change, very often they are 110% down on like job searching and job
Yeah.
applying and networking and constant. And I'm like, all right, tell me about like when is the block of time in your calendar that you're going to go outside? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you
Yeah.
like out in the air and
Touch grass.
touch grass. Yes. And literally, the actual phrase touch grass was a regular conversation with one of my clients last year.
Yeah.
Like, when is the last time you touched grass outside
Yeah.
of your front
Yeah.
lawn?
Yeah.
And very often they were like, I can't remember. So your point is the right one. I think
Yeah.
it's this specificity. Don't just block the time. First, block the time. That's critical. But
Yeah.
next, what are you going to do with it? Um,
Mhm.
and I think that, if you've got a spouse and kids, or if you've got grandkids or whatever the other thing, if you have an existing structure that is gonna automatically fill that space when it exists, then good for you. But for a lot of people, there isn't that existing structure. You have to make a plan for how you're gonna spend your personal time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think that's a good one.
yeah, so that's definitely a big one for me. The other thing is, I don't know how else to say it. It's just age. Just you get to a point where you're just like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that."
I
Like
mean, you do, and
you
I'm like, if you're listening to this and you are younger, like, it will this will happen to you
Yes,
too.
it will.
But, it may not feel like it ever will right
Mhm.
now, but it will,
Yeah.
where you get different priorities
Yes.
as you get older, and that's okay. And it's also
Yes.
okay to be where you are right now and wanna, like, hustle hard, but
Completely
know
agreed.
that hustle culture, it has a cost, and
It does.
you will pay that cost at some point.
God, Kristen, that's so well put. I think that so first of all, like I can say with confidence, you and I separately and at one point together
Uh-huh.
hustled when we were younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did. We worked the hours, we put the time
Yep.
in, we did the thing,
Yep.
we jumped over the things, right? And so and in a lot of ways it paid off in ways that we both appreciate. And I feel confident saying that. Um and also we found our own path to how to draw that line.
Yep.
Um because to your point, there is always a cost to pay
Mhm.
for the choice to hustle. Um and sometimes it's still the right cost. I don't regret choices I've made in my career, but I did get to a point, several points over the time of my career where it was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that thing anymore. Or I'm not going to do it as big or as long or as difficult, because I want to start claiming some time. So yeah, if you're a younger person hearing this and you're like, oh man, I should stop hustling, don't unless it's starting to burn you out.
Yeah, I mean, just be on the lookout for when you are starting to pay the
Yeah.
price. And then that's the point at which you might wanna consider what you do differently. And pay the price, I don't just mean burnout. I mean,
Mm-mm.
also, there there are jobs at which you hustle, and there are jobs at which if you hustle, that it actually hurts you.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's a good point. Say more about that.
because okay, so sometimes um, it in certain more strategic roles, as you become more senior in your career, be having that ability to step back, having that ability to have balance, going into meetings with your whole attention is absolutely crucial to the role. And
Yeah.
being seen as an executive, especially if you want to go into the executive ranks,
Yeah.
requires you to not have the kind of hustle that you have when you're in a more frontline role earlier in your career. And so sometimes and there are lots of stories about this, but there I coach a lot of women who are in kind of middle management positions who aspire to be executives, and sometimes the coaching I have to give them is like you have to step back and you have to go out with with more of a, um, executive presence, which
Yeah.
is a calmer presence. It's a presence that isn't always available to everybody all the time,
Yeah.
and I think that feels weird for people who have really hustled to get to where they are, and then they have to kinda shift gears to move to the next level.
Kristen, that's a brilliant point, and I'm really glad you made it because you're right. Especially as any of us get to higher levels in our career, think about what hustle looks like, right? When we see it
Mhm,
in the people we've worked with or the people that we've been. It can look hectic, it can look a little
mhm,
chaotic, it can look high energy. Um,
mhm,
those are all great ways to get things done in an organization, but now think of the executives that you respect, right? The ones
mhm,
that you wanna emulate. They don't have that. They're not that hectic person, and so I think that's such a great call out that one of the ways to advance in your career is to really claim a level of work-life balance and so that you show up in a way that is chill. Yeah,
mhm.
you captured that really well. I appreciate that because I
I
wasn't
mean,
thinking of
you
that.
may still be working really hard, but you're working hard in a way that is different from what you
Well,
did before.
agreed. And that's I think a different topic for us. Like the way that leaders scale, I think becomes a really critical thing, right?
Oh,
How
yeah,
do
we
you
should make that an episode.
we really should because how
Okay.
you as a leader lift yourself out of a level of detail that used to be very comfortable
Mhm.
so that you can lead people whose job is now to work at that level of detail is what we mean when we say scale, right? So y-
Yeah.
you can't increase your scope and not also increase your scale. And we know people who have done that. We can point to them and watch them
Mhm,
burn out and become
mhm.
shadows of their former selves. So yeah, we'll dig into that at some point. But I think that
Okay.
idea, that image of the executive, that calm presence,
Yeah.
um, and that person that has got that balance. I was in a um, we can start to wrap up, but I was in a meeting at Amazon in the first year that I was there, and there was someone asking some of the senior VPs who were there in the group that I was in. Someone said, "What is it that keeps you up at night? About this organization?" And his answer was just so clear. He's like, "Well, first of all, nothing keeps me up at night. I sleep fine." He said, "The things I'm thinking about for our future are these." And I was like, "What the perfect way to say that." Like
Yeah.
it and it didn't seem prepared. It didn't seem like he'd been waiting for someone to ask him. He's like, "I'm really glad you asked about me up at night 'cause it doesn't work that way." It was just an automatic response. And I thought
Yeah.
that's the difference. The difference is
It
the
is the
rest of us
difference.
were being kept up at night because we were much more junior and worried about the
Mhm.
projects and our
Yep.
launches. And this very senior person was like, "Oh, no, no, I'm sleeping fine." Like, this is work, and
Yeah.
and I have another life. So, yeah, that was one of
Yeah.
my relatively recent images of
That's a
work-life
really
balance.
great example.
Yeah,
Why don't we
he's
wrap up on that?
I think
Let's
let's
wrap
yeah,
up on that.
we don't
Okay,
have to
that's
add
a
anything
good
else
one.
to it all. This is a great one.
Something to aspire to.
Exactly, yes. Also, as always, I love doing this with you, Kristen. We'll
Oh,
talk again.
likewise. Thanks,
Yeah,
Greg.
thanks. Bye, everyone.